Hello. Welcome to a deep dive into a topic that, well, fundamentally shapes our modern world: technology and innovation. It's really more than just a buzzword, isn't it? It's the engine driving change across, well, pretty much every aspect of life, work, and how we connect. And for anyone looking to deepen their understanding, maybe expand their knowledge base, or even sharpen skills for challenges like communication exams, where being well informed is key. Really getting to grips with this topic is incredibly valuable.
That's absolutely right. Thinking about technology, it goes far beyond just the latest apps or gadgets you carry around. It's this pervasive, really powerful force that has propelled human development forward, sometimes in obvious ways, sometimes more subtly, and navigating the complexities of today's world, maybe even anticipating what's coming tomorrow. It really requires a solid grasp of this subject, understanding its roots, its reach, and the big questions it raises.
And that's exactly what we're setting out to do in this deep dive. We're going to explore this crucial area by unpacking the material we have, sort of pulling out the key insights. We'll look at the journey technology has taken, its, profound effects on society and the economy, and maybe where innovation might be heading. So where do we even begin this exploration? Let's maybe start right at the beginning, tracing technology's path through time.
Sounds like a good plan. The story of human technology is, well, it's as old as humanity itself, really. Our material shows us that the earliest truly significant steps happened way back in prehistoric and ancient times. When you think about those foundational innovations, what often comes to mind are things like rudimentary stone tools. And these weren't just rough objects, the development of techniques to knap stone, to make sharp edges or points, that was revolutionary. It allowed early humans to process food much more effectively, create other tools, and frankly, gave them a significant survival advantage.
I can imagine that shifted everything. Hunting, gathering,
Right.
Even just basic defense must have changed completely. What came next?
Well, the controlled use of fire was another monumental leap forward. Our material describes it as transformative. It provided warmth, protection from predators, which obviously expanded where humans could actually live. But maybe even more critically, it allowed for cooking. And cooking made food safer, easier to digest. That potentially had huge impacts on human evolution itself. Fire became central to early communities, didn't it? A gathering point for social interaction and shared resources.
And then there's something we still use every single day, though in vastly more complex forms now. The wheel.
The wheel, yes. It seems incredibly simple to us now, but its invention was, frankly, a stroke of genius back then. Our material really emphasizes its vital role far beyond just moving things around. Transportation is obvious, but it was crucial for early agriculture, too.
How so?
Think about irrigation systems, maybe simple machines for grinding grain, things like that. And perhaps most significantly, it was a catalyst for trade and commerce. I mean, just imagine trying to move goods, any significant amount of goods, over distance without wheeled carts. It's almost impossible to picture.
Right. It would have been incredibly slow and difficult.
Exactly. The material highlights how the wheel directly facilitated early economic activity by making transport far, far more efficient. These were, using the language here, fundamental, almost rudimentary innovations. But they were incredibly powerful technological catalysts. They really set the stage for significant societal advancement. It just proves that even the most basic seeming inventions can profoundly shape civilizations.
It is fascinating, isn't it, to think how those tools, which seem so basic to us, were once the absolute cutting edge and completely reshaped life. Okay, let's fast forward quite a bit then. What happened when we got to the Industrial Revolution? This feels like a much more rapid, disruptive period.
It absolutely was. That period, roughly spanning from, say, 1760 to 1840, is indeed characterized as an industrial upheaval. it wasn't just a step forward, it was a complete paradigm shift in how things were made, in daily life, everything. Our material points to key technologies like the steam engine, that mechanized power generation, freeing manufacturing from needing to be right next to a river, for instance.
Right, power anywhere.
Pretty much. Then you had mechanized textile production machines like the power loom. That dramatically increased the speed and scale at which fabrics could be made. It created entirely new factory systems.
Huge factors, right.
Exactly. And alongside that, the development of railways, powered by those same steam engines, that just shrank distances and integrated markets in ways that were completely unprecedented.
And the impact wasn't just technological, was it? It sounds like it completely reshapes societies as well.
Oh, absolutely. Our material describes how these technologies fueled rapid urbanization. People moved in huge numbers from rural areas to these new factory towns looking for work. It drove significant economic growth, no doubt, created new industries, new wealth. However, and this is crucial, the material is very careful to highlight the significant negative consequences that came with it.
Like what?
It points to widespread labor exploitation, often brutal working conditions, incredibly long hours, very low wages, dangerous environments in the factories, and simultaneously it notes serious environmental degradation. Coal-powered factories polluted the air and water on a massive scale, impacting public health and the natural landscape.
So this period really underscores that idea that technological progress often comes with serious trade-offs. It wasn't just a smooth upward curve of improvement.
Precisely. The Industrial Revolution serves as a powerful historical case study, really. It gives us a framework for analyzing the benefits versus the costs of major technological shifts. Our material uses terms like mechanization and socioeconomic disparities to describe the process and, well, its often harsh outcomes. And this dynamic tension, between progress and its negative side effects, it isn't confined to the past. It's a theme we see repeated throughout history, right up to today.
Which brings us much closer to the world we inhabit now, the digital age. This era, starting really in the 20th century and accelerating dramatically ever since, feels defined by rapid information exchange. What were the core drivers here?
The digital revolution, as it's often called, was fundamentally driven by two things: the invention, and then the widespread proliferation of computers, and of course the internet. These technologies created entirely new possibilities for processing information, storing it, sharing it, and connecting people across vast distances.
What were some of the really major milestones in that journey?
Well, a truly pivotal moment was the invention of the World Wide Web. That was by Tim Berners-Lee back in 1989. Our material notes that this didn't just connect computers, it democratized information access on a massive scale. Suddenly, vast amounts of data, knowledge, communication, it was available to pretty much anyone with a connection.
That's the global village idea, right?
Exactly. It fostered that idea where geographical distance became much less of a barrier to communication and finding things out. Then later on, you have the introduction of the smartphone, perhaps best exemplified by the original iPhone launch in 2007. That made powerful computing and internet connectivity intensely personal and, well, ubiquitous everywhere. It essentially put the internet, communication tools, countless applications right into everyone's pocket.
It's genuinely hard to overstate how much that changed daily life. I mean, just think about how you get information now compared to, say, 20 years ago. Or how your smartphone has basically replaced so many other devices, your camera, music player, GPS navigator, personal organizer. It's all in one place.
Absolutely. This era really introduced and solidified terms like digital revolution, the concept of the information superhighway, and this ongoing drive for universal connectivity.
Okay, so looking at the cutting edge right now, today, What technologies are currently defining our time? The material points to a few really significant areas.
Right now, we're seeing incredibly rapid advancements in artificial intelligence or AI, also significant developments in blockchain technology, and crucially, ongoing progress in renewable energy sources.
Can you just paint a quick picture of what each of those represents? What are we talking about?
Sure. Artificial intelligence is the force behind systems that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. Things like learning, problem solving, decision making. We see it in virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa, recommendation engines on Netflix or Amazon, and increasingly in really complex systems like those being developed for autonomous vehicles.
Okay. And blockchain.
Blockchain is that distributed ledger technology. It provides a secure and transparent way to record transactions across multiple computers. It's most famous for underpinning cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, ensuring data integrity without needing a central bank or authority.
Got it. And renewable energy.
Renewable energy tech, things like solar panels and wind turbines, they're focused on harnessing natural resources, sunlight, wind, to generate power sustainably, which is, of course, absolutely critical for tackling climate change.
It definitely seems like these contemporary technologies are deeply linked to either solving major global challenges like climate change or creating entirely new structures for finance and information, like with blockchain and AI.
They are indeed. They represent the forefront of what we'd call cutting-edge innovation. Renewable energy offers sustainable solutions. AI and blockchain are often described as disruptive technologies because they have the potential to fundamentally alter existing industries and business models, shake things up.
The material includes a specific case study looking at the evolution of artificial intelligence. Maybe we can delve into that history a bit more.
Yes, it's fascinating, actually. AI's theoretical foundations were laid surprisingly early. We're talking back in the 1950s with pioneers like Alan Turing. He was exploring the very idea of whether machines could think. These were very abstract concepts back then, rooted in the nascent capabilities of early computing.
And contrast that with where AI is today. We've got conversational models like ChatGPT, incredibly sophisticated image recognition software, systems used for complex data analysis in science and finance, and the ongoing development of truly autonomous systems like self-driving cars. It's incredible how those early theoretical questions have led to technologies we interact with, often without even realizing it, every single day.
The progress has been truly astonishing, yes. And our material points out that AI really embodies that dual nature we talked about with the Industrial Revolution. The potential benefits are vast. Think about its use in healthcare, faster, more accurate diagnostics, drug discovery, or in optimizing complex logistics networks. Huge potential. However, the material immediately raises significant concerns. It highlights the potential for widespread technological unemployment.
Jobs being lost to automation.
Exactly. As automation, powered by AI, takes over tasks previously done by humans, particularly vulnerable are jobs in manufacturing, logistics, but also increasingly in customer service and even some white-collar roles. Furthermore, it points to the critical issue of algorithmic bias.
How does that work?
Well, AI systems are trained on data. If that data reflects existing societal biases, racial, gender, socioeconomic biases, the AI can learn and perpetuate or even amplify those biases. This can lead to really unfair outcomes in crucial areas like hiring decisions, loan applications, maybe even criminal justice risk assessments.
Yeah. Wow. So AI isn't just about building smart machines. It forces us to confront really challenging questions about the future of work, about fairness, about ethics, and maybe even the very nature of intelligence itself. That seems like a core debate for our time.
It absolutely is. Discussing AI seriously means understanding terms like algorithmic intelligence, grappling with the deep ethical quandary it presents regarding bias and autonomy, and seriously considering the potential socioeconomic implications like technological unemployment. It's complex. Okay, so let's shift our focus now. We've traced the history. Let's look more closely at the profound, pervasive impact technology has on our daily lives and on society as a whole. It really has left an indelible footprint everywhere.
Where better to start than with education? How has technology changed the fundamental way we learn and teach? It feels like a sector ripe for change.
Oh, definitely. Technology has dramatically reshaped education, moving far beyond the traditional four walls of a classroom. Our material highlights the rise of e-learning platforms. Examples like Coursera or Khan Academy, which offer online courses, often from top universities, available to anyone. And alongside that, there's the increasing prevalence of virtual classrooms, online learning tools, collaborative software.
Making learning more flexible.
More flexible, yes, and potentially much more accessible. That's the significant positive impact noted. This is particularly crucial for reaching individuals in underserved regions, maybe those with disabilities that make physical attendance difficult, or people who simply can't attend traditional institutions because of work or family commitments. It opens up educational opportunities that just didn't exist before.
That sounds like a huge step towards democratizing education, making knowledge available more widely. But you mentioned accessibility. Does technology solve that completely? Or are there still barriers?
Not entirely, no. Our material is quite careful to immediately introduce the critical challenge, the digital divide. While technology can open doors, it can also exacerbate existing inequalities. If people lack reliable, affordable internet access or the necessary devices, laptops, tablets, or even just the basic digital literacy skills to use these platforms effectively, well, then they're excluded.
So it can widen the gap as well as narrow it.
Potentially, yes. The material highlights this tension. There's the potential for greater educational equity through technology, but the reality of unequal access means technology can exclude just as much as it includes. This raises really important questions about ensuring that virtual pedagogy, online teaching methods, and e-learning resources are truly available and usable for everyone, not just those already advantaged. Okay, moving on to healthcare. This is another sector experiencing truly revolutionary changes driven by technology. What are some of the key innovations the material points to here?
Well, it talks about things like telemedicine, which I guess really took off recently. That's allowing patients to consult with doctors remotely, right? Through video calls or apps. And wearable devices like fitness trackers, smartwatches, the Fitbits of the world collecting continuous health data, blood pressure, heart rate, sleep patterns. It also mentions the growing use of AI for diagnostics, helping medical professionals analyze images like x-rays or scans, or maybe identifying patterns in patient data to detect diseases earlier or more accurately.
And our material uses a very powerful, very recent example to illustrate the real-world impact of some of these. The COVID-19 pandemic. The surge in the use of telemedicine during that crisis, platforms like Teladoc saw massive increases in usage, really demonstrated technology's vital role in a crisis situation.
It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Telemedicine became a critical tool for providing safe medical consultations without the risk of spreading the virus. That was essential for protecting both patients and healthcare workers, especially early on. And it must have helped alleviate some of the immense pressure on hospitals and clinics when they were overwhelmed.
Precisely. These technologies clearly improve healthcare accessibility, particularly for people in rural or remote areas, or maybe those with mobility issues who find it hard to travel. They also hold enormous potential for enhancing the quality of care. Through more personalized monitoring from wearables, maybe faster, AI-assisted diagnostics. This often contributes to what's called precision medicine, tailoring treatments more effectively. Just think for a moment about your own interactions with the healthcare system recently. Have you, or perhaps someone you know, used telemedicine? Do you wear a fitness tracker? These are direct examples of this telehealth revolution in action.
Now let's turn to something that, well, touches almost everyone's life daily. Social media. The material acknowledges its undeniable power for global connection and information sharing. It uses platforms like X, formerly Twitter, as an example of how people can communicate and share ideas across the world almost instantly.
And that ability to connect across borders, across cultures, is powerful, no doubt about it. However, our material is equally firm, perhaps even more so, in highlighting the significant negative consequences associated with social media.
Such as?
Well, it points to its documented contribution to mental health issues, particularly among younger people, citing things like increased feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, depression, often linked to constant social comparison and the pressure to present a perfect image online.
The curated life effect.
Exactly. It also emphasizes social media's role in the rapid and widespread dissemination of misinformation and disinformation. It's become incredibly challenging for individuals to discern what's true from what's false online. And finally, it notes that these platforms can contribute to increased societal polarization by creating filter bubbles or echo chambers where individuals are primarily exposed only to viewpoints that reinforce their own beliefs.
Limiting exposure to different perspectives.
Yes, which can foster division and what the material calls social fragmentation.
That resonates very strongly, I think. Most of us probably have a complicated relationship with social media. We experience the benefits of connection, staying in touch, finding communities, but also feel the downsides like information overload or seeing angry, divisive content. The material even touches on the idea of a digital detox as a sort of conscious response to feeling overwhelmed by it all.
It does, and it really prompts a significant question for society, doesn't it? Ultimately, does this technology enhance our social connections, bring us closer together despite distance, or does it fundamentally weaken our relationships by promoting more superficial interactions and contributing to societal divisions? It's a complex trade-off, and the answer is probably still unfolding. Okay, let's look at the economy. Technology is acting as a powerful and often quite disruptive force here. Our material details how automation and AI are fundamentally reshaping labor markets. On the one hand, they are creating entirely new job categories, often requiring advanced technical skills, think data scientists, AI specialists, cybersecurity analysts. But on the other hand, they're simultaneously displacing workers in traditional industries. We see this clearly in manufacturing and logistics, but increasingly also in some service sectors, even roles involving routine cognitive tasks.
And the material points to the rise of the gig economy as a prime illustration of this shift, doesn't it? Platforms like Uber or delivery apps. These enable flexible work opportunities, allowing people to use technology to find short-term tasks or freelance projects, often bypassing traditional employment structures entirely.
That's a very clear example of how technology platforms can create entirely new work structures and business models almost overnight. Now, the gig economy offers potential benefits, flexibility, lower barriers to entry for some work, but it also raises serious concerns about job security, the lack of traditional employee benefits like health insurance or paid leave, and sometimes wage instability for workers. This is all part of the broader economic disruption driven by technology. And it brings back that concern we touched on earlier about technological unemployment, where skills mismatch or direct job displacement creates significant challenges for the workforce and society to manage. Let's maybe circle back to the telemedicine example again, but specifically as a case study focusing on its rapid acceleration during the COVID-19 pandemic, because our material gives it quite a bit of prominence. As we touched on, platforms like Teladoc saw just massive increases in usage starting in early 2020.
And that was absolutely vital, wasn't it? For enabling safe healthcare access during those initial, very uncertain phases of the pandemic.
Yeah.
It reduced the burden on physical healthcare facilities and minimized infection risks for everyone involved.
Absolutely. It was a clear demonstration of technology providing healthcare resilience in a crisis. It acted as a powerful digital intervention during a global emergency. However, and this is the critical counterpoint our material makes. This period, while showcasing the clear benefits of telemedicine, also starkly exposed and even amplified existing access inequity. Meaning that many vulnerable populations, you might think of the elderly, low-income families, people in remote rural areas, they often lack the necessary reliable broadband internet access or the right devices or even just the digital literacy needed to actually use these telemedicine options effectively.
I see. So the crisis accelerated the adoption of a potentially beneficial technology, but in doing so, it also shone a really harsh light on the digital divide. It showed how unevenly the benefits of technology are actually distributed in society.
Precisely. It's a powerful illustration of how technology's implementation, especially in critical sectors like healthcare, absolutely must be accompanied by concerted efforts to ensure equitable access. Otherwise, you risk worsening the very disparities you might hope technology could help solve.
Okay, so technology evolving at such a, breathtaking pace and having such widespread effects across society, economy, healthcare, it seems absolutely essential that we spend some time considering the ethical and environmental questions it forces us to confront. It's not just about what technology can do, but what it should do, right? And what the consequences are.
That's a crucial point, yes. And one major area of concern highlighted in our material is privacy and data security. This comes up again and again. While technologies like AI-powered surveillance systems or facial recognition software can offer potential benefits maybe for public safety, crime prevention, or even just convenience, they also pose significant risks to individual privacy. The sheer ability to collect, analyze, and track vast amounts of personal data creates new vulnerabilities and power imbalances.
And our material provides a very pointed, very well-known example of this vulnerability. The 2018 Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. That event really served as a stark global reminder of how personal data, collected often implicitly by technology platforms, could be harvested and misused without users' full understanding or explicit consent. And it impacted everything from political processes to just individual trust in these platforms.
Exactly. And events like that have fueled widespread calls globally for stronger regulations governing data collection, how data is used, and data security standards. The discussion really centers around concepts like data privacy, the inherent risks of algorithmic bias within surveillance technologies leading to unfair targeting of certain groups, for example, and the challenging ethical balance involved in what's sometimes called ethical surveillance. Where do we draw the line between legitimate security benefits and unacceptable intrusions on personal freedom and privacy? How do we find that balance in an increasingly digitally monitored world? It's a question societies everywhere are still grappling with. Now, moving to a completely different but equally complex frontier, genetic engineering and bioethics. Technologies like CRISPR gene editing offer astonishing potential. The ability to potentially cure inherited diseases at their source by directly modifying DNA. It's revolutionary.
That sounds incredibly promising from a health perspective, absolutely. Curing genetic diseases would be amazing. But I know from the material that this area also raises really significant ethical concerns, doesn't it?
It certainly does. The material discusses the profound bioethical concerns surrounding the potential for creating so-called designer babies.
Meaning using these technologies not just to cure disease, but perhaps to enhance traits, select for specific characteristics like intelligence or appearance.
Precisely. That raises huge questions about equity, human diversity, the potential for unforeseen long-term consequences, and what it even means to be human. There's also the very real concern about potential inequality in access. If these powerful gene therapies become available, who gets to benefit? Will they be limited to the wealthy, potentially creating a new biological form of disparity between the enhanced and the unenhanced?
So the very ability to edit life itself brings up these deep, fundamental questions about the moral implications of, well, playing with fundamental biological processes and ensuring fairness in who gets access to these powerful tools.
Exactly. It forces a really necessary conversation about the need for careful regulation, societal debate, and clear ethical boundaries around genetic manipulation. How do you, the listener, feel about the idea of humans having the power to alter genes in inheritable ways? It's a question that challenges deeply held beliefs and values. Okay, let's shift gears again and look at technology's relationship with the environment. There's a clear duality here as well. On the positive side, technologies like solar panels and wind turbines are absolutely essential, sustainable solutions in the fight against climate change. They offer clean energy alternatives to fossil fuels, which is vital.
That's the hopeful side of the equation, technology providing tools to potentially heal the planet or at least mitigate damage. But our material also highlights a major negative environmental consequence, electronic waste, or e-waste. This is all the discarded electronic equipment, isn't it? Old phones we upgrade every couple of years, computers, televisions, printers, even appliances now have electronic components.
And the sheer scale of this problem is staggering. Our material provides a specific, quite alarming statistic. Global e-waste generation reached approximately 59 million tons annually back in 2022, and that number is likely still climbing.
59 million tons a year. That's huge.
It's enormous, and this waste is often laden with hazardous materials, lead, mercury, cadmium, flame retardants, things that can leach into the soil and groundwater if not disposed of properly. This poses serious environmental risks and direct health risks to people living near dumping sites.
So the very products of technology, which often aim for efficiency or connectivity, are themselves creating a huge toxic pollution problem at the end of their often short life cycles.
Yeah.
What solutions does the material suggest?
Well, the material discusses the urgent need for developing more circular economies. This means designing products differently from the start, thinking about durability, repairability, reuse, and eventually easier recycling. It also emphasizes the need to significantly improve e-waste management practices globally, ensuring that valuable materials like gold or copper are recovered safely and that the toxic components are handled responsibly, not just dumped. The ultimate goal is to drastically reduce technology's overall negative environmental footprint and to really underscore the severity and, frankly, the global inequality of this e-waste problem. Our material includes a specific case study. It focuses on how developing nations are often impacted. Countries like Ghana, parts of India, Southeast Asia, they disproportionately become destinations for e-waste, often shipped illegally or under dubious circumstances from developed nations looking to offload the problem cheaply.
And that practice creates devastating health and environmental hazards for the local populations living near these informal disposal or recycling sites, right? People, sometimes including children, are often exposed to highly toxic substances while trying to scavenge for valuable materials to sell.
It puts a very real, very human face on the problem. It highlights deep issues of global waste trade and fundamental environmental justice. And while the material does note that local recycling initiatives are emerging in some of these regions, they often lack the proper infrastructure, safety regulations, and investment needed for truly sustainable recycling.
So this case study really shows that the environmental cost of our consumption of technology isn't borne equally across the world. It's often pushed onto the most vulnerable communities.
That's a very accurate summary of the issue raised. Okay, beyond its societal and ethical impact, technology is also fundamentally reshaping the global economy and how nations interact. Its economic and global reach is incredibly significant and still growing.
Let's start with its role simply as an economic engine. Our material points to the massive influence of major tech companies. The names, giants like Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, as key drivers of economic growth and innovation on a truly global scale. Their market capitalization, their reach, it's enormous.
Absolutely. But the economic dynamism isn't just concentrated in these huge corporations, important as they are. The material also emphasizes the crucial role of startups and smaller, agile, innovative companies, particularly in rapidly evolving sectors like fintech financial technology, creating new ways to pay, borrow, invest in edtech educational technology, developing new digital learning tools. These smaller players are often vital for job creation and for driving innovation within specific niches, contributing to a vibrant and evolving tech ecosystem.
So it seems technology doesn't just create a few big winners. It also fosters a wider culture of entrepreneurship. It allows for new business models to emerge and potentially thrive, disrupting established players.
Absolutely. This constant churn of disruptive innovation, often technology-led, is a key characteristic of modern economic dynamism. Technology platforms enable entirely new forms of commerce. They connect businesses with customers globally in ways that were impossible before, and they facilitate entrepreneurship, sometimes with relatively low initial barriers to entry compared to traditional industries. Technology has also been a major force behind increasing globalization and economic interdependence. It facilitates cross-border communication, complex supply chain coordination, and international trade at speeds and scales never before possible.
And our material gives a fantastic, often cited example of technology driving this kind of global connection and economic change, sometimes in unexpected places. M-Pesa in Kenya.
Ah, yes, M-Pesa. It's a truly remarkable story and a classic case study. Launched in Kenya way back in 2007 by Safaricom, M-Pesa is essentially a mobile phone-based money transfer, financing, and microfinancing service. Our material highlights how it absolutely revolutionized financial inclusion in Kenya and several other African countries. It enabled banking-like services via even the most basic mobile phones for millions of people who were previously completely unbanked or severely underbanked, particularly those in rural areas without access to physical bank branches.
That's incredibly powerful. It allowed people to safely send and receive money just using SMS, pay bills remotely, access small loans, even manage savings, all through their phone, without needing a traditional bank account. The material mentions its significant positive impact, including studies suggesting it contributed to lifting many households out of poverty by providing secure and accessible financial tools.
It's a prime example of how mobile economy solutions, enabled by relatively simple mobile technology, can have profound socioeconomic impacts in developing regions. It fostered financial empowerment for millions. Now, while the material does rightly note that, like any large-scale financial system, it faces ongoing challenges dealing with fraud attempts, ensuring network reliability, M-Pesa remains a widely successful and studied model for leveraging technology to bridge critical gaps in traditional infrastructure and drive digital inclusion. This technology didn't just connect people, it fundamentally integrated many of them into the formal economy for the first time. However, even with amazing success stories like M-Pesa, when we talk about global connectivity and the digital economy, we absolutely must acknowledge that the digital divide is still a very significant global issue. The disparities in access remain stark.
Yes, the material provides a pretty sobering statistic on this point. It mentions that as recently as 2023, an estimated 37% of the entire global population was still offline. 37%. That's billions of people who are effectively excluded from participating fully in the digital economy, accessing online information and services, education, communication, everything we've been talking about.
It really underscores that achieving genuine universal access and bridging this deep technological disparity is a major global challenge that requires ongoing effort and investment. The material does mention some ongoing initiatives aimed at addressing this gap, such as large-scale satellite internet projects designed specifically to reach remote or geographically challenging areas where laying physical fiber optic cable is impractical or prohibitively expensive.
So there's a growing recognition, hopefully, that closing this digital gap isn't just about convenience or market expansion. It's fundamentally about equity, about ensuring everyone has the opportunity for digital empowerment and meaningful participation in our increasingly digital global society.
That's certainly the goal, yes. Let's maybe take one of those initiatives, Starlink, as a specific case study for peering into the future possibilities and challenges of global internet access. Starlink, as you probably know, is the project led by SpaceX. It involves deploying a vast constellation of thousands of small satellites in low Earth orbit. The explicit goal, as noted in our material, is to provide high-speed, low-latency internet connectivity, particularly to underserved and remote regions all across the globe. The aim mentioned is ambitious, to achieve widespread coverage, potentially by 2025 or soon after, directly targeting areas that currently have poor or completely non-existent terrestrial internet infrastructure.
On the surface, that sounds like a direct technological solution to the global digital divide we were just discussing. If successful, it could potentially bring reliable internet access to millions, maybe hundreds of millions who lack it now. But is it a complete solution? Are there catches?
Well, our material points out a key challenge that remains significant, particularly for the target demographic: the cost. While the technology aims to provide the coverage, the monthly service fees, and the initial cost of the user terminal, the dish you need to connect, can still be a substantial financial barrier for many potential users in low-income regions or developing countries. These are precisely the populations who often need this access the most.
So the technology for satellite connectivity exists and is being rapidly deployed, but making it genuinely affordable and thus achieving true digital inclusion for the world's poorest populations.
Yeah.
That's the next major hurdle to overcome.
Exactly. This case study perfectly illustrates the immense potential of these global internet access technologies, but it also highlights that the challenges aren't purely technological. They are deeply economic and societal, requiring solutions that go beyond just launching more satellites. We need to think about affordability, subsidies, community access models, digital literacy training, the whole package.
Okay, so before we wrap up this deep dive, let's try to ground all of this incredible history, the societal impacts, the ethical dilemmas, the future potential. Let's bring it back to our own daily lives.
Yeah.
How do these big trends actually manifest into the technology you, our listener, interact with every single day? And perhaps more importantly, what does understanding all this context mean for you as someone looking to learn, grow, and navigate this technologically saturated world?
That's a great way to frame it. Let's think about that smartphone again, which you mentioned earlier, as a key part of the digital age. Our material aptly describes it as a multifunctional device, and frankly, that feels like a huge understatement now, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's arguably the single most impactful piece of personal technology for productivity and daily life in at least the last decade, maybe longer. It's not just a phone anymore. It's your email client, your calendar, your task manager, your note taker, your primary news source, your bank, your entertainment hub, your map and navigator, and increasingly a powerful gateway to learning and information.
It's the ultimate example of ubiquitous technology. It offers immense digital convenience by consolidating countless tools and functions into one single handheld device that most people carry constantly. Just reflecting for a moment on how many different tasks you accomplish using your smartphone on any given day, that really drives home its pervasive impact on personal productivity and daily routines. And technology isn't just changing our personal devices, it's also transforming the places where many of us live our cities. Our material discusses the growing concept of smart cities, using Singapore as a prominent example often cited. These are urban environments that actively integrate technologies like the Internet of Things, IoT, which essentially connects everyday objects and infrastructure to the internet and artificial intelligence to try and optimize how the city functions.
Optimize things like what, specifically?
Well, managing traffic flow in real time based on sensor data, improving the efficiency and scheduling of public transportation, optimizing energy consumption in public buildings and streetlights, enhancing waste management collection routes, improving public safety through connected systems. The applications are broad.
So that's technology shaping our physical environment on a large scale. The goal being to create more efficient, perhaps more responsive, and ideally more livable urban spaces through smart infrastructure driving urban innovation and maybe working towards more sustainable cities in the long run.
And of course, we can't forget how technology has revolutionized how we entertain ourselves and spend our leisure time. Think about the massive shift from traditional broadcast or cable TV to streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus at, offering vast libraries of on-demand content whenever you want it. Or the emergence of completely new forms of entertainment like virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR.
Creating totally new kinds of immersive experiences through digital entertainment, moving beyond just passive viewing.
Let's use virtual reality and gaming as a specific case study in leisure technology, since our material mentions devices like the Oculus Quest, now Meta Quest. These headsets, as you know, offer a deeply immersive technology experience. They allow players to feel like they've truly stepped inside digital worlds and can interact with them in ways that traditional flat screens simply can't replicate. It's a different level of engagement.
That sounds like incredibly exciting gaming innovation, offering completely new ways to play and experience stories. But
yeah,
I suspect I know what's coming. Our material points out a familiar challenge we've seen elsewhere, doesn't it?
it does indeed. The high cost. VR technology, while getting cheaper, is still relatively expensive compared to traditional gaming consoles or PCs. The headsets themselves potentially needing a powerful computer to run complex experiences. It limits its accessibility for many people.
So once again, while the potential for these amazing immersive experiences is here, very real accessibility barriers related to cost prevent it from being a truly mainstream leisure activity enjoyed by everyone just yet. It's another reminder that even really cool, exciting new technologies face hurdles in widespread adoption beyond the early adopters.
Now, maybe let's try to bring all of these threads together. We've looked at the history, the profound societal impacts, the complex ethical questions, the powerful economic forces, the global reach and disparities, the future possibilities, and these everyday applications. What does understanding all of this actually mean for you, the listener, as a learner trying to make sense of the world?
That's the key question, isn't it? I think understanding these different facets isn't just about accumulating interesting facts or tech trivia. It provides you with the essential context, the more nuanced perspectives, and crucially, the vocabulary needed to think critically and talk intelligently about one of the most powerful forces shaping your world, your career, your future.
Exactly. Whether you're perhaps preparing for a communication challenge like an exam where demonstrating broad knowledge is helpful, or simply trying to understand complex news stories about AI developments, cybersecurity threats, or climate tech innovations, or even just engaging in more informed conversations with friends or colleagues. This depth of understanding is invaluable. You've explored how technology evolved from simple tools, its multifaceted impacts, both good and bad, the tough ethical questions it raises, how it drives economies and global connections and divides, what the future might hold, and how it shows up right in your pocket and your city.
These are really the building blocks, aren't they? For forming a well-rounded, critical, and informed perspective on technology and innovation, rather than just reacting to the latest headlines. We have certainly covered a vast landscape in this deep dive. We've traced the journey of technology from ancient stone tools and the harnessing of fire right up to the cutting edge of quantum computing, AI, and genetic engineering. We've touched on local agricultural impacts thousands of years ago and global financial inclusion happening right now via mobile phones, and also the pressing global challenges like managing electronic waste.
And I think what really emerges from this exploration, this journey through the material, is the clear understanding that technology is not a simple monolithic force. It's incredibly powerful, yes. It's deeply complex, and it's constantly rapidly changing. It brings immense benefits and truly exciting possibilities for progress, but it comes alongside significant challenges, deep ethical dilemmas, and undeniable costs, environmental, social, economic. It is constantly fundamentally reshaping our world in ways we're still trying to fully understand. And developing a comprehensive, multifaceted understanding of its various dimensions, historical, social, ethical, economic, global, is absolutely crucial for anyone seeking to navigate and contribute to that world effectively.
So, as technology continues its relentless and seemingly accelerating evolution, here's maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to carry forward and ponder. Considering everything we've discussed today, the potential, the perils, the history, the future, what is the single most important question you believe humanity needs to collectively ask and answer about how we guide technology's future use and development? That brings us to the end of this deep dive into technology and innovation. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you found this deep dive helpful, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We really hope this exploration has provided you with valuable insights, maybe some new perspectives, and ultimately a richer understanding of this fascinating, complex, and absolutely vital topic shaping all our lives.